We're repacking wheel bearings on a trailer. So I can't get these lug nuts off because look at the back there. The press on the lug studs has rusted out and somebody's globbed up some weld on the back there. So we're gonna fix this. Should replace the lug studs, but I'm just gonna do a proper weld on the back there. So we can't get our tire off, right? Well, we can get it off if we take the nut off here. The whole hub comes out, and we're gonna repack those bearings with some grease. So I took off the cap right there with some big vice grips. You can use a little screwdriver, try to get in there and pry it out. So now we got our cotter key here. We're gonna bend this tab forward, pull the key out, and take this nut and washer off. All right, we got our big nut off. Our washer and inner bearing just kind of plopped out. We're gonna inspect this bearing and make sure it's not horrible. Looks pretty good. Now, the whole tire with the hub assembly. All right, we'll just come right off of there. See that? We're left with the shaft. Now we got a seal and the inner bearing right here. Your parts store you should be able to take these up and match them up. You're gonna pop this seal out here and replace it, and your inner bearing's right here, sitting in there. I'm not gonna show you that, but I will show you backing the outer bearing. All right. I think first thing I want to do is bust the welder out. Clean those gobs up, those ridiculous looking gobs, and do a proper weld on her. We got our wheel bearing here. We're gonna give it a little spray out with some brake cleaner. Already wiped it down with a rag really good. Just getting all that old grease out of there. There we go. Nice and shiny. I don't see anything wrong with the bearings. Looking good, it's spinning good. I'll dry this guy up. See, I got a bearing packer right here. Here's the top to it. So we can press that in there. I'm going to show you how to pack it with your hands too. But with this bearing packer, we just put the bearing right in the middle. Center it out with this little guy. Tighten it down. And press. And that's going to send grease packet all throughout the bearing. Here we go. I'll show you. See, that grease actually squirted in between those bearings, and that's that like flower pattern you see. That's how you pack a bearing good. And you can do that with your hands. Get some grease in your hands. What you want to do is kind of smack it and roll the bearings at the same time. And it'll actually pack that grease into the bearings if you don't have a bearing packer. Kind of messy, but it works good. And there's repacking our bearing. All right, we got our lug studs welded. Now we can take our lug nuts off. All right, that guy's on there. That guy's on there real good. You might have to torch these. No wonder the studs broke off in the back. ones coming out. They are in there good. So I'm gonna bust the torch out, get these out. All right, we got our axle all cleaned up. A little bit of grease on there, just thin layer. We'll pop that bearing back in there. Put some fresh grease in it all the way around. A little extra fresh grease. Pop it on there straight. And we'll put a little extra grease on the outside. Pack it into that bearing. Here we go, then we got our washer. A little bit of grease, whatever extra I got sitting here. Just slap it in there. And we got our castle nut. One of them lug studs was screwed. I'm gonna have to end up replacing it. Not today though. Now we got to tighten this down. This one was 1 7/16. We're gonna try to spin this while tightening, but the socket doesn't want to stay on there. So we'll just tighten it. We're pressing the bearing in. See, that's too stiff, way too stiff. But that was just setting the bearing. Now we loosen her up. The socket just doesn't want to go on, it's too thick. And then we'll tighten it up while spinning the bearing. Give it just a little extra. That's about right where I want it. You want it to be smooth. You tighten that axle nut too much, and it'll be real stiff, the wheel bearing. You don't want that. You can't spin it easily. This one, if I put the tire on, it would spin around pretty nicely. We gotta find that cotter key and line up our hole. I have no idea where it is with all this grease. No idea where it's hiding. Let's give it a little tightening, just a little. Maybe the hole will expose itself. All right, so wherever it landed, it's completely covered. So I'm gonna figure out where that hole is. Trying to find it. Come on. I'll just take this nut all the way off. Usually it's not this difficult. All right, it's straight through the side. That's where it is. So we need to land the opening right on its side. There's hand tight. Now we give it a little bit with the wrench, with the ratchet. There's grease everywhere. I can't even grab my socket now. Now we can slide that cotter key through. Cotter keys through. We give it a bend at the end. And, whoa. Pop this cap back on. Feel our bearing. There's no play. If you grab it at 12 6, make sure it spins smooth. There we go. Put the tire back on. I had to seal up that tire. It had a nice leak. Put the tire back on, tighten those lug nuts down. We're good to go for today.